This is the Hungry Millennial, back again, episode 8. As you can see, I'm in uniform right now. I have training this weekend, so that's why I'm all jazzed up. Excuse the shaking of the camera a little bit. I'm currently heading to my unit to do training this weekend. I think, so today I kind of want to talk about joining the military and also creating and fostering positive relationships, whether it's male to female or if it's just friendship relationships. Those some of the relationships that I have, friendships as well, have become lifelong benefits to me as a whole. I joined the Army the Army Reserves back in 2009 when I was 17 years old, fresh, almost about to graduate high school. I made the decision because I knew that I wanted to go to college and become an Army officer and go active duty. My dad served for 14 years. So I decided that, I wanted to follow in his footsteps and serve my country while also getting my education paid for. During the process, I received what was called a GI Bill, which was a stipend every month for going to college. I also had a signing bonus when I signed on. I was a fueling supply specialist known as 92 Fox. At that time, they were offering bonuses, but once I commissioned as an officer, there was something that one of the things is I had to give up that commission because you could potentially, go on to active duty and make more. Plus, it's a way of them containing the budget a little bit better as well. One of the things that if I advise anybody who ever decides to join is make sure you get everything in writing. Make sure you talk to your recruiter and they're well trusted. There are some pretty shady recruiters out there, so I would, just like anything else in life, I would go to an advisor, like somebody who's already been in the military, talk to them about their experience. Somebody who's recently, either recently got out, or someone who, recently joined, so that way they can give you tips and tricks of the trade and kind of walk you through some of the things that they wish they had known. One thing that I wish I had known was that that there were scholarships available prior to actually joining, because I would have probably went to SIU and went through ROTC there, saved a couple of years on my legs and knees and back, etc. And it's one of those things where sometimes you just don't know until you signed everything, you go through the experience, right? But through every experience that you have, there's a lesson learned. And I learned to get everything in writing, as well as to do research prior to everything. I mean, that comes to, they might show a piece of paper in there, show you all these benefits, right? But you need to make sure you're doing research on your own, whether it's checking, local military blogs or talking to other recruiters who aren't directly recruiting you at that point in time. And making sure that you've crossed all your T's and dotted your I's, because ultimately sometimes it can be a lifetime commitment. Sometimes it can be, anywhere from 2 to 6 to 8 years. And, it's one of those things where it's a commitment that if you don't serve and do what you're supposed to do, you potentially face jail time, fines, etc. Another thing I wanted to touch on was, so my next thing is, when it comes to serving, there is a difference. It's no longer, a lot of times people go, well, you're a weekend warrior or whatever it is. Never utter that term unless you have actually served, like you yourself have signed up for something. Because there are a lot of guard units and reserve units that actually do deploy. Some of them more often than others as well. The National Guard is it's more of a stateside thing. However, we deploy as well because in the National Guard is where they have all the combat arms. The Army Reserves, they have more of the support roles there, but as well as they also do have engineers in the Army Reserves, and combat engineers kind of fall in that boat as well. So, you know, no matter what branch that you decide to serve in or you decide to pick or choose, it's still a sacrifice. You're still going to go to, you know, schools that last anywhere from 3 to 6 months from time to time. You're going to miss holidays, birthdays, times going out with your friends. I think ultimately I've lost more friends because I've had to join the military, because I couldn't go and do all the things that I wanted to necessarily do with the people that were going out or whatnot, which is fine. I mean, if those are the type of friends that you have and they're not going to be there, they're not going to, hey, you know, what are you doing this weekend? I know you had training last weekend or whatever, but they're not going to connect that way, then you probably don't need them. And ultimately, it's helped me create a lifetime of different friendships. One of my biggest friends, his name is Mike Bird. Very highly motivated individual. Been through some really tough times, tough experiences together. Whether it's me, you know, being crappy at land nav and him straightening me out, helping me get through that, or telling me, hey man, let's keep going, you know, on runs or something like that. Because we all have points of weakness, and sometimes it's that one individual that affects our lives that changes our life for a lifetime. You know, anytime, you know, when I'm struggling or something, I think, you know, in my mind, I'm like, what would Mike Bird do? And sometimes that gets me through. He's one kick-ass dude, and he's really helped me, you know, go through some challenges, you know, throughout college, and showed me what a really resilient person is, no matter what. I struggled in college. I didn't know how to swim, and I had to take swim lessons at the local Y in Mattoon, Illinois, because I actually went to Eastern Illinois University. And so I would have to do that on top of going to physical fitness. And I was paying for my own lessons because the government didn't have much of a budget for it as well. But I ended up going through that. I ended up, you know, going and excelling at our summer camp prior to. At the time, the person that was in charge, the commander that was in charge, had ranked me in the bottom part of my peer group within that class. And by the end of the summer, you know, I'd come back and did things that were, you know, top 5, top 4, etc. And so that was a big growing point for me. I did learn that, you know, sometimes you need to show a little bit more face time to these people that are grading you, and it's all a part. I don't want to call it a political game. At the same time, if they don't know your face, they're not able to, you know, a lot of times give you a realistic assessment of where they think you are. Whether or not that actually reflects who you actually are as an individual, sometimes it varies. So it's better off to kind of be in the pool, you know, give that good face, and then run with it. Another, you know, two instructors that really affected my life in a very positive way. Shout out to Michael Gately and Daniel Alex, Captain Daniel Alex. He really, you know, those two really helped push me and push the limits that I knew in my personal self. So, you know, just make sure that you're fostering good relationships. And a lot of times it's just being around, having conversations, taking parts. There are a lot of times where I wish I would have been more of an extrovert when it came to being around groups. But I've always been kind of an introverted extrovert. So that was kind of one of, you know, my biggest downfalls per se. But sometimes it's better to, you know, be quiet, because you sit and you learn and you watch and you observe, and you're able to pick up on good habits or, you know, things that you probably shouldn't be delving in. As well as when it comes to, you know, I have a rocky history with relationships. For me, with relationships, it's been one of those things where, from a dating standpoint, you want to find somebody who, you know, you can be best friends with, but then somebody who, when, you know, trials or something hits, they're ready, because, you know, that butterfly type of feeling that you know, have when you first meet somebody, you first start dating them, that can disappear very, very quickly. So make sure you're being very aware of who you're intermingling with, who you create relationships with, because ultimately that person could be the person that helps bring you up. That person can be your downfall. So that's it for the Hungry Millennial today. I'm gonna be gone this weekend training. We're heading up to Wisconsin for some type of training, and won't go into much detail there. But you know, have a great, safe weekend. Don't do anything crazy tonight. If you do, be safe about it. Anyway, this is the Hungry Millennial, episode 8. Tommy out. Like, share, subscribe. Find me on Instagram at OnTheSpotGuy. Like, share, subscribe. Send me questions as well, and I'll be sure to answer those. Thank you.